Fluster Sports Zone, and welcome back to another edition of the Powerskateshow, episode 15. Of course, always along with me is Alex Stossel, and we have our guest, Austin Sabinski. You can go introduce yourself, Austin.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me on. And not to be mean by correcting you, because a lot of people have a problem pronouncing my last name. It's actually Cybulski.
Cybulski, my apologies.
No, I'm not joking. There's plenty of people that have messed up that last name, so it's okay. It's actually Polish, my last name. That's where it comes from. But thank you guys for having me on. This is a pleasure to be doing a podcast. It's funny how I didn't really get into podcasts that much, but they weren't really talked about when I was growing up in middle school and high school. But nowadays, after those days that I had in my childhood, like nowadays podcasts are like everything, and I can't get enough of them either. I enjoy them.
Yeah, thank you. And before we start, some sad news that happened to the hockey world. Maple Leafs legend Eddie Shack sadly passed away at the age of 83, I believe.
Yep, it was 83.
And some shocking news that's way worse than Colby Caves as a respect. Andrei Buchtela, Czech Republic national defenseman, passed away at the age of 20 at a rare heart disease. It's very unfortunate to see how bad it was on Buchtela. Very dark cloud on anyone for Czech Republic. So we want to give them a memorial podcast for tonight. All right, so before we start, I ask you guys to please hit the like button. That man greatly appreciates a lot to me. That's gonna make us do more podcast videos and in the near future. All right, so let's get this party started. So Austin, so at the start we do like our top 5 free agents of our choice. So if you say no, you can choose what the 3 teams that are the best fit. All right.
Mm-hmm.
You can always say KHL
sure.
too.
Yeah. Sure.
All right. So first on the fence, we got Jan Ruta from the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's 30 years old. His last contract was $1.3 million per year. Will he re-sign with Tampa Bay? Yes or no? Austin, would you like to start? Jan Ruta.
To be honest, I will say yes, because first of all, the cap hit isn't that pricey, and I don't think he's going to be asking for that much money. I mean, not saying like he doesn't want to get paid, but like getting paid $1.3 million is, I mean, if you asked me, I think it's pretty good. And he's been a really great depth defenseman. I mean, he's not our top defenseman. He's not our number 1 defenseman. But for what he does as a role, because he's one of our right shot defensemen, which you need. I mean, it's good to have defensemen that are the left shot, or they shoot on the right side, but they're still a left-handed shot defenseman. Jan Ruta has been a bright spot. I think it was a bright spot this year. Maybe people don't talk about him that much this season, but what he did for us this season in the games that he played, I really liked his performance. He was definitely, and I think sometimes he even had to help, if I'm not mistaken, Victor Hedman on the top line, I think, because of the injury. Sometimes that happened during the year. And he really stepped up his game. He learned a lot from the leaders of this group, both the offense and the defense as well. So I think they will re-sign him. I mean, obviously there's going to be a couple, we'll talk about it later, there's going to be a couple of players after this season's over. Next offseason, or this offseason we're coming into, there's going to be a couple of players, no matter what, it's going to happen because of cap. Some players are going to be traded or, are going to be gone. But for his sake, I don't think Jan Ruta is going to be one of those players that's going.
Jan Ruta.
Yeah, I actually don't know much about him, definitely compared to Austin. But, I would definitely say that he would re-sign with the Lightning for sure. I'd say a 1-2 year deal at most would be right around comfortable for his price range. Again, he's probably not going to be asking for a lot. He's a great depth piece, especially for the Lightning for this playoff run. I would assume the Lightning will re-sign him.
Yeah, for me, I don't think he's going to re-sign because, which we will get into a trade rumor. I kind of see him go to Minnesota for like 2 years. I think I saw some articles about him going to Nashville or Edmonton. So it's one of these two. And if I would make a decision, I would say he will not resign due to some future cap hits on the team.
Fair
So,
enough.
all right. Next player, we got Nathan Bullio from the Winnipeg Jets. His last contract was $1 million on the dot. Will he re-sign with Winnipeg? Yes or no? Grant, would you like to start? Nathan Bullio.
Sure. I mean, he's a good defenseman, but the Jets already have a very young defensive core. So this is kind of a tough one. I would say if he does resign Winnipeg, he'd pretty much just be, a healthy scratch most of the time unless a defenseman gets injured. I would probably say he would sign somewhere else. I would think maybe Minnesota or Florida would probably be two pretty good options for where he might go. Maybe even somewhere like Ottawa or Detroit. I guess we'll have to wait and see, but I think Bullio will not re-sign with the Jets.
Austin.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those where I don't have like a definitive answer because it's like I see it both ways where it's like, yes, he could re-sign because their defense is so young right now with Winnipeg, and it's like at the same time they don't want to lose another defenseman. Not saying he's like their biggest asset on defense, but it's good when you have depth on your defense, and he is a depth piece. But at the same time, there are other teams that need defensemen on their team. So I could see it both ways where he is a depth piece and like is their fifth or sixth defenseman, and they'll re-sign him for a small contract amount and like a couple of years. But at the same time, I could see it going the other way where it's like maybe a team that really does desperately need a defenseman signs him like a long-term deal. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. This is tough. I think Nathan Bullio will re-sign with the Winnipeg Jets because on the D core is full of AHL guys. Like if they lost Bullio, then I think that Winnipeg is gonna not gonna get a playoff spot because like Bullio has NHL experience. He played Montreal and Buffalo, so like if you lose him, then it's gonna be like all the way in Detroit situation, like not the whole team wise, like in defense, because like if he does not go, I kind of see him go back to Montreal, because like all the best years were part of Montreal. Kind of see him go to Philadelphia for a year or so. Excuse me, and Nashville. If I would choose, I would say he will re-sign due to D-core situations. Next one, we got Ryan Miller from the Anaheim Ducks. He's 40 years old. He's a goaltender. $1.125 million per year. Will he call it a career or sign with a different team? Austin, Ryan Miller.
That is actually an interesting one because now we're talking about a goalie. And, the last couple of years, I don't know exactly how many years he's been the backup for Anaheim, but it's like, I think about Anaheim and it's like obviously no California teams made the playoffs this year. This is the first time all three missed the playoffs for the first time in I don't know how long. But I think about Ryan Miller and it's like he is a great, especially because of his age, he's not like – I don't know where he could go to be a number one goalie. I mean, I'm not assuming that's what he wants to be anymore, a number one goalie. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But he's been and it's like he's a great depth piece. I mean, you've seen what he's done, like in the games. Like I remember even one game against. It's not to be biased and talk about my team. It's the best example I got. I remember one game. I think it was a year ago when they had, instead of John Gibson play, it was Ryan Miller that played the game. It was in Tampa on the road for the Ducks. And he actually made like over 30 saves and we lost the game like 3-1. And he was outstanding that game. So he still has a few years left in his, I think in his career to like play in the NHL, just not as a starter. So I don't know if they have a goalie right now that is in their minor leagues that's wanting to step up and start showing what he's capable of. I don't know anyone that's in the minors from the Ducks. So in my opinion, because John Gibson is still their number one goaltender, and you need two goalies during a season, to win in this league. We've seen it even in the playoffs, obviously, with recent years. So I think he should, and I believe he will re-sign with the Ducks, in my opinion.
Grant, what about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think Ryan Miller will re-sign too. He's either going to re-sign or retire, but I feel like he'll probably re-sign with the Ducks for another year. It's just, he could maybe be a starter on Detroit, maybe, but even then, you kind of wouldn't want to, put, yourself that old. You kind of want to put yourself back in that position where you're fine already where you are. I know you're most likely going to be retiring without a Stanley Cup, and I know that hurts because outside of that, he has been a fantastic goalie throughout his career. But, yeah, I would definitely say he would re-sign another one-year deal with the Ducks. He truly has, he really has played very well at his age, and despite, being what he used to be, he still hasn't really slowed down a lot. So I would definitely say he will re-sign with the Ducks for a one-year deal.
Yeah, I think he's not going to re-sign with Anaheim because Austin, and to correct you, there's players from the San Diego Gulls, Kevin Boyle, and I think Lucas Dostal, I don't know, whatever his last name is Czech. Yeah, he's not going to re-sign with Anaheim because some goaltenders from San Diego are NHL ready. I think he's going to go to somewhere like in Toronto or maybe Tampa if Curtis McElhinney gets traded. Or maybe Dallas if Anton Khudobin does not re-sign with Dallas. So if I would choose, he will not re-sign with Anaheim.
Yeah, no worries. I honestly didn't know what goalies they had in their minor league San Diego Gulls team. So it's thank you for correcting me on that because I know they have every team has goalies that are hopefully up and coming. I just didn't honestly know, and I know a lot of hockey players from all the rosters of the teams, but I honestly didn't know their roster from their minor league team. So thanks for that.
Yeah. All right, we got two more. We got defenseman Carson Soucy from the Minnesota Wild. His last contract was $750,000. Will he re-sign with Minnesota? Yes or no? Grant, would you like to start?
Sure. He'll probably re-sign with the Wild, but he's just going to go – he's pretty much going to be playing in Iowa, I would imagine. Unless someone gets hurt. At this point, I think he's probably more of an AHL defenseman, especially with that salary. So I would probably say Wild re-sign him to a two-way contract.
Yeah, and before Austin, I'm sorry for interrupting you. So his stats were 55 games, 7 goals, 7 assists, and 14 points. So pretty much he's like a NHL ready on your roster.
Oh, well, yeah. He'll still probably sign a 2-year or two-way contract for another year or two, probably.
Austin,
yeah. Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, to answer the question with this free agent, Carl C. Susan, yeah, I've heard that name a couple of times, because he's obviously made some appearances when they've called him up from the Iowa Wild. And he'll probably, like you said, I don't see him going to any other team, and Minnesota needs all the pieces that they can because Minnesota wants to trend in the right in the right direction because moving forward, they just, with this being a brand new decade, the Wild want to be a relevant team again in the playoffs and try to improve their roster despite some of the contracts that they've got. So even though he probably won't be a permanent roster spot, I'm sure they'll sign him to where he'll play both in the minor leagues and then when they need him due to a couple of their teams due to a couple of injuries, they'll probably call him up. So that I agree with you, Grant, that I think he will re-sign with the Wild organization.
Yeah, he will re-sign with the Minnesota Wild because like I said, he's starting to become a NHL regular to the lineup, so he will re-sign with Minnesota. So one more, we got Valery Nichushkin from the Colorado Avalanche just returned to the NHL. His last contract was $850,000 because he played in the KHL last year. So, yeah, will he resign with Colorado, yes or no? Austin, would you like to start?
Well, this is pretty cool. Like, this is the fifth and last one we're talking about. And it's interesting because it's amazing how he had a bright future with the Dallas Stars, then goes to the KHL because he was struggling after his rookie year. And like after his first stint in the NHL, then he comes back and gets a minimal contract with Colorado Avalanche, and it's amazing that the time that he played this season with the Avalanche this season was a bright spot. Like he scored some important goals. He was really active with the team. Chemistry wise, I think he was a good depth piece for this team. And I think that sometimes it doesn't work out. People go to the KHL and you never see them come back to the NHL. And sometimes they give it a second shot, a second go. And he's obviously not too old. Like he's still very young, so it's not like he's too late to try to make a comeback or a return to the NHL, especially with this being his first season back. So I think that Colorado likes what they saw from him, and I'll see it both ways because maybe because of the cap situation, maybe they won't re-sign him, but maybe another team because of what obviously other team scouts, scouting, scout leaders, look out for players that they notice. So maybe another team's like, they probably have noticed their Chuskin and probably want them for their team. So he might sign with another team, but I could see at the same time Colorado re-signing him because to keep that depth on their team, like a third line role or fourth line role for going forward.
Yeah, Grant. We already talked about Valery Nichushkin.
Yeah, Valery Nichushkin. Yeah, no, I agree. I think the Avalanche will re-sign him. I mean, he's been just such a solid depth piece with Colorado thus far. In his return, and I think he really has made his return count so far. I mean, the Avalanche just chuck him on the third line, and he has still been a very solid player. He really, is performing like how he played back in the day with Dallas. I mean, he is just right back on track, and he's really getting his career path back on the map. And I think he is a very solid weapon for the Avalanche, especially in the playoffs. I can't wait to see what he does. Of course, good depth pieces like Nichushkin always flourish in the postseason, so it's going to certainly be interesting to see what he does this year. But, yeah, if I was Colorado, I'd definitely re-sign him for probably a 2 or 3 year deal.
Yeah, I think Valery Nichushkin will re-sign with Colorado because how good their juggernaut are for the Avalanche. Like they're a young, bright future team. Okay. They're a bright, young future team who's about to become a Stanley Cup contender or a Stanley Cup level team. If Valery Nichushkin resigns, he might do the same thing because he's on a good team and he's making a great bounce back from Dallas to KHL and Colorado. So he will definitely resign with Colorado for sure. All right, so let's do out our topics, and I think we need to do the first one. This is a no-brainer. Let's unveil the Seattle Kraken new logo and uniforms. So,
yes, I will pull that up right now. But yes, of course, Seattle Kraken now the 32nd franchise in the NHL, and boy, they have fans have already fallen in love with them. They have sold more than 50% more merchandise than the Golden Knights did in their first 48 hours of existence. It is truly remarkable, and boy, are we happy to see the Seattle Kraken in the NHL. Share my screen here, and we can go see those, I think, in my opinion, awesome-looking jerseys.
Are you on to my the Powerskateshow thing, or I don't know? And
what's up?
So,
there it is.
Yes, that is gorgeous for sure. Imagine if they come next year, everyone's gonna go insane with those jerseys.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting
whenever they might buy them.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting whenever they decide to release the jerseys on the online, market for people to purchase them.
Yeah, so I think what will remind me for the Kraken is the Buffalo Sabres goat head jerseys, because pretty much so when you compare the Kraken and the Golden Knights, you see the light blue, and then it's fade. It's like the Golden Knights, so it's gray. You got the yellow, the red, and the silver down. I would give this an A+. Like the font is the Nashville Predators current fonts. So yeah, I would give this a W for sure.
I agree.
Yeah, I would as well. I mean, it just looks so slick, and I mean, you just take a look at it now, you're like, oh, this is awesome. But imagine when they actually start playing games with these, it's gonna look awesome. So, I think the Kraken, I think they did a fantastic job with both the jersey and the logo. It really does have that Winnipeg Jets feeling to me, a little bit with the color scheme, but no complaints from me. I like the Jets jerseys as well, so no complaints from me. I think this is an absolute – this is basically an empty netter. This was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our next topic, trade rumor time. Are the New Jersey Devils loading up to become a threat in the Eastern Conference? They're planning to get Evander Kane, Jonas Brodin, and Alex Killorn. So out of these three, who do you think will go to the Devils?
Do you want me to?
If I had to choose, I think the most one would be.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Continue, Grant, what you were saying. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I was saying, I think the most realistic one is Alex Killorn, but I think overall the player the Devils probably should go after the most would definitely be Jonas Brodin. They just need help on the defense, especially a guy who can really work aside PK Subban and, really make that defensive core, as strong as they can get and, really try to push New Jersey into a wild card spot, really, to make the playoffs. I think Jonas Brodin would be a huge acquisition. I think Alex Killorn, they might be able to pick him up too. Evander Kane's an interesting one. I don't think they would have enough to really, trade away Evander Kane unless they're going to trade Jasper Bratt or something, but I think he's a very good player. So if I was New Jersey, I'd keep him. I definitely would go after Brodin, and you might even be able to pick up Killorn, but I think Evander Kane, maybe. It's going to be a little bit tough, and I think they would have to get rid of some draft picks, which I don't think New Jersey is willing in doing either. So it'll be interesting if they can get Evander Kane for sure, but I would definitely say Brodin, Killorn are certain possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, because you're one of the three options you asked was, a Lightning player right now. I know that the Lightning are going to get rid of a couple of players for sure, or they have to for cap reasons. But I feel like they want to keep Killorn because of the year he had, and they still have him under contract. I mean, he broke out this year. He got 26 goals. That's a career high for him. But at the same time, I don't say that it's not a possibility because the Devils obviously could be interested in him. And it's it wouldn't be too bad because I feel like the Lightning, when they trade players, I've noticed they don't want it to be the same conference or the same division. Like with Ben Bishop, they didn't keep him in the Eastern Conference when they traded him. He went to the West. And it's so the thing is, it wouldn't be the same division, so it wouldn't be that bad because you only see the Devils 3 times a year. So maybe he might go. He could maybe get traded, but it's the one more realistic one is because of their defense is more of the issue. It's not an offensive issue that they have. I would definitely see them wanting to go after, out of all the 3 players that you guys listed as an option, I would say Jonas Brodin for sure because their defense is the biggest factor. I mean, goaltending too, but I feel like they've kind of solved it with Mackenzie Blackwood starting to get better. But their defense is their biggest question mark and their biggest issue moving forward. So I would definitely say Jonas Brodin.
Yeah, like I kind of agree because like I would like to know why is PK Subban not scoring this year? Because like he had like 7 goals, 11 assists, and he has like minus 26. Like he most likely gets like 40 to 50 points. His like potential or his role is a top 4 defenseman. His potential is a elite defenseman. So I do not know why that Subban's doing horrible, but I think that you have Damon Severson and Mirko Mueller as your top 3. Once you add Brodin into the list, I think that your top 4 is going to be steady. Like they might not make the playoffs like next year. They might miss 2 years of the playoffs with Brodin's tenure in New Jersey. So yeah, I think Brodin will be a good idea of taking New Jersey. And Evander Kane, I think it's gonna be like in return for Taylor Hall. So since like Evander Kane is left wing and Taylor Hall's left wing, so I think that when they traded Hall away to Arizona, you can get Evander Kane in return and from that top line slot. So yeah, I think it will be Brodin and Kane to the Devils. So another trade, the Lightning and the Wild are planning to do a Anthony Cirella for Matt Dumba trade. So let's start with Austin. So Austin, what do you think of the projected trade, Matt Dumba for Anthony Cirelli?
Well, this projected rumor, because like I think I've heard once or twice before about the rumor of the Lightning wanting Matt Dumba. I mean, he is obviously a great defenseman piece, and obviously would be a big part of the top 4 of our defense group. I think that's an equal value that would be worth it, because like if we wanted to, like I personally want to keep Cirelli. I know that means that we would have to get rid of like Tyler Johnson and Andre Collard or Yanni Gourde, 2 or 3 of them, or all 3 or something. But at the same time, if that was to happen where we did trade him because of the value that he brings, obviously the season that he had this year, I think that would be acceptable. I mean, because Matt Dumba is a great defenseman, and it's like they're getting a big piece back, I mean, because the only thing I think about Minnesota, because it's like he's obviously a big part of their defense group. It's like not saying that they don't have anyone else besides Matt Dumba on their defense, but at the same time, they would be losing a big asset on their defense. So it's like, I just don't know if Minnesota would want to, get rid of someone like that from their defense group, because they want to try to trend and, in a positive direction moving forward. But at the same time, they could use more help on their offense as well, besides defense. So the trade makes sense and could work. I agree.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think it would be a pretty even trade for both sides. Maybe throwing a pick, maybe like a second, third round pick perhaps. But, this totally makes sense. The Wild, they need depth in the forward position, and Anthony Cirelli would certainly be that guy. Heck, he might even be their second liner, depending on what happens with Mikko Koivu. And then you have the Lightning, who bring in Matthew Dumba, who could pretty much play next to Victor Hedman, no problem, I would assume. And then you'd have the Lightning already do have a stacked defensive core. You just add on Matthew Dumba to that, and you're just improving, even larger than that. So, this would be a very fair trade. Either way, I think it would definitely benefit both teams, especially for both teams. Of course, Lightning, one of the best teams in the league. Wild, borderline playoff team, even without the 2014 playoffs. I mean, it's certainly interesting. I think it could certainly happen. Yeah, I definitely think that this could happen.
Yeah, like for Matt Dumba, he's been okay with the Minnesota Wild, like right now and last year. But I think like once he goes to like Tampa Bay, I think he's gonna rack up points. rack up points like he did in his first 3 years of his career with the Minnesota Wild. Like Cirelli is like your physicality center with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I think if Koivu retires out of nowhere this year, I think Cirelli can fill in the slot of centers for the Minnesota Wild. So I think it's going to be a fair trade if the Koivu situation in Minnesota that we have not heard of, or maybe he's going to say something like very shortly. So, all right, next one, Taylor Hall to Nashville, signing a free agent to the Nashville Predators. So, Grant, do you think it will happen, Taylor Hall to Nashville?
I will say, if Taylor Hall goes to the Predators, I think this puts them instantly in Stanley Cup contention. Will he? I don't think so. No. I think it's mainly because they invested most of their money in Matt Duchene last offseason. So I really don't think they want to pay another guy, 5-6 years. Nashville already has a good enough roster the way how it is. I mean, obviously adding in Taylor Hall will pretty much make you a borderline cup contender. But is he really the guy you want to go after? I mean, I think you would want to resign some pieces, maybe go for agency and get some cheaper pieces to, really build around that bottom six and, the bottom two on the defense. I think that's what you should do. Taylor Hall should not be your first priority if I was Nashville.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree, Grant. It's like, you basically said it on the head, so I don't have much more to add. But with the pieces that they already have, you signed a long-term deal with the player that you thought was going to change, maybe not change the franchise, but get you back on track by signing Matt Duchene. And the money that Taylor, first of all, the amount of money that Taylor Hall is going to be asking, it's not going to happen, I don't think. And, other pieces like they have with Philip Forsberg that they still trust, and Victor Arvidsson too. I think he's one of my favorite players, favorite on Nashville to be exact. And I think that they're going to be fine. I don't think they're trending in a wrong direction. They have a great top four defense group, and their top six is still very good. They just need to obviously have better team chemistry and work on that. But so Taylor Hall, I don't see staying with Arizona, but at the same time, that I don't think, he's not going to Nashville in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Taylor Hall will sign with Nashville, but here's one thing. He can play anywhere. He can play left wing, center, or right wing. Imagine Philip Forsberg. Well, who's the center? Ryan Johansson
or Ryan Johansson. Yeah, true. Could be either or.
Ryan Johansson and Taylor Hall. I think this is going to be a solid your top six department with the Predators. I think they may give him like a 3 or 4 year deal. If Duchene's horrible, then Hall can fit the center. I think they have to match the Matt Duchene contract, like the year that his contract expires. So yeah, I think this is a legitimate shot that Nashville will sign Taylor Hall.
I will say, I think the Pekka Rinne contract is going to definitely play a role in this. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
All right, next one. Anaheim joins the Jack Eichel sweepstakes. So, Graham, what do you think about Eichel to Anaheim?
I mean, what would you give up if you're Anaheim? You do not have the pieces to get Jack Eichel. I definitely think Jack Eichel could certainly get traded from Buffalo, but Anaheim should not be the team. Definitely not. Really, what do you really have? I mean, you have solid pieces in like Elias Lindholm, who's a good defenseman, but like in reality, you have nothing to really match up to, the price tag of Jack Eichel. So if you ask me, it's not going to happen, especially since I'm a Kings fan. I would hate if Jack Eichel went to the Ducks in general, but I mean, but in reality, the Ducks just simply don't have the pieces to really get Eichel. So I would be absolutely blown away if he ended up going to Anaheim.
Yeah. For me. Sorry.
No, you were going on. I was just laughing, just adding on. But you can continue what you were saying, Alex. Sorry.
I would say Eichel for David Backes, because I think Backes needs to. Bye.
I mean, hey, the Ducks did trade Andre Case for David Backes, so maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, look how awful that
would be
so far.
Yeah, it'd be weird if they did do that. But
or for like a concept trade, I would say Jack Eichel for Danton Heinen, or Eichel for Heinen.
Yeah, I go for Heinen, and then you have to add in like 3 first-round picks with Heinen, and then there you go. That should be no problem.
Yeah, because it's like just to trade that alone isn't like it wouldn't make sense as a 1-for-1 trade. It would have to include picks if they're doing Dan and Heinen. But yeah, like even like Sam Steele, who's obviously like trending. Like he's the future of the Anaheim Ducks, Sam Steele, but it's like that you can't even do that a 1-for-1 trade just to get Eichel because that just still wouldn't make sense because of what Eichel has already done. So to me, like I understand there is big rumors and there's going to continue to be rumors because of Buffalo still struggling of him wanting out. Like I even heard a rumor that, and this isn't even true. It's just a rumor that I just heard that Jack Eichel doesn't want to be on the. Like, even though it's not his call, like he's saying that he doesn't want to be saved on the saved list for the Seattle expansion draft when you save 6 or 7 forwards. Like, he doesn't want to be saved like on that list. And that's obviously, that's not proven true. That's just a rumor. But when you hear a rumor like that, you know that there's problems in Buffalo with Eichel. Like the clock is ticking with how much longer he's going to tolerate, staying there.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think Seattle would pick him up. I definitely think a team would definitely be willing to, trade an entire, first line or something to get him. There's going to be some teams you think again for the right price, some teams going to overpay for him. Like, it would be like a team like Boston or Washington that, is like already right there in cup contention, or St. Louis, and they're just going to like overpay for Jack Eichel and completely ruin their other 3 lines. It's going to be weird. I can't wait to see what the Eichel offer will be. And then watch, lo and behold, he just stays in Buffalo. And we're like, oh, okay, we're talking about this for nothing. But I truly do think he's out. Whether it be this year or next year, I definitely think he's out.
Yeah. So another rumor, not rumor, but news. What is happening with the Arizona Coyotes? John Chaga terminate his own contract.
Yeah, I know. Things are just getting weird in Arizona because it's like you get Phil Kessel to try to improve your team. They made the playoffs this year, but Taylor Hall is now on your team. Obviously, people are already thinking that he's going to leave Arizona, and it's like there's always rumors about Arizona relocating, and it's just like I just think it just keeps getting worse for Arizona. And actually, God bless them. I actually like the Arizona Coyotes. I think they're a cool team. I love the Goalhorn song. Like, I guess because I'm a Black Keys fan, but just their team in general. Like, it's just like you want to root for those teams that are underdogs. Like when Nashville surprised everyone and made the Stanley Cup final 3 years ago, I was rooting for them because it's like teams that are like up and coming teams. Just like the Lightning the Lightning were not relevant until like 2014, 2015, their cup run, and now they're a team that everyone talks about. And now like Nashville, everyone talks about them. So it's like you wish those teams like Buffalo and like Arizona, start to get talked about more. And it's like it just seems like one after another, things just continue to get worse for Arizona. It's just like I don't know what to go on. It's like I don't know what's the problem. Like there was a problem with inside the organization, like why he wanted to leave, I don't know, but it's not good news if your own general manager is terminating his own contract and it's not someone else terminating his contract, where it's like he's just choosing to leave himself. I don't know, just that kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth if you're a Coyotes fan.
Absolutely. I mean, you keep on mentioning things are getting worse and worse, but in reality, it's just the front office that's getting worse and worse. On the ice, they're getting beyond better. They are eons better than what they were a couple years ago. They have a great 1-2 punch with Kemper and Ranta in the goaltending core. They have built a young, strong defense. Clinton Keller's turning into be one of my favorite players in the entire league. Sure, the Phil Kessel trade hasn't worked out to the fullest yet, but still, you're making these decent moves, and your team is all of a sudden starting to win, but now the front office is kind of just taking this away from you, and you're like, come on, we've waited all this time since 2012 when they made the Western Conference Finals to just get back to the playoffs, and you finally did that this year, and now it's like Coyote fans can hardly even enjoy that because they're like, oh, great, now our own GM just terminated his own contract a week before the playoff starts. Oh, goody. I mean, they're just put in such a tough spot.
Yeah, terrible spot.
Yeah. All right, so this is gonna be a little bit different. So Austin, so for our past guests, we talk about like one of your favorite teams, like your cap situation. So like your free agents. I'm on cap friendly. So if you're on cap friendly, so yay. So
yeah, everyone uses cap friendly.
So I go with the upcoming free agents, and then you say like this and that. Your choice. So Patrick Maroon, Mitchell Stevens, Anthony Cirelli, Carter Verhaeghe. On your defense, Kevin Shattenkirk, Jan Ruda, Zach Bogosian, Kel Sergachev, Luke Shen, Eric Chernak, and your goaltending, Mike Condon. So Austin, take it away.
Wow, that's a lot of players that you're saying that are you saying all their contracts expire next year? Like they'll be free agents this upcoming off season?
Yes.
Well, wow. That's a lot more than I thought. I think one of the two right shot defensemen will stay. Jan Rutta, Zach Bogosian was an interesting move, and it's like he's really, I guess, from what I heard and I watched their videos on training camp, he really was dedicating himself to really practice and really work hard on his training. So, I mean, bless that, especially because he's from, Buffalo, and then obviously they, ended his contract and we signed him free agent. But Shattenkirk was a bright spot this year too. I love what Shattenkirk has brought to our team this year. Like he instantly was right away stepping up. I think he scored the very first game, like opening day or opening night. He scored right away his first goal as a Lightning member, and obviously he wants to rejuvenate his career because people were doubting him after his contract got terminated from the Rangers, and obviously his stint with the Capitals didn't turn out great before the Capitals had their cup year. And then after the Rangers, it didn't go so well. So because, it would be cool to sign him again for another year, for $1 million or so. I don't know how much money he's going to be asking for. I would like to keep him, but obviously he probably wants to also test the market too to see what other teams want to the term amount and the amount of time years-wise sign him. So I personally want to see him sign with our team again, but at the same time I could see another team pick him up because I think he's shown that he's that he's made a comeback this year, improved after having a terrible year last year. Jan Rutta, I feel like because he's been with the team since the minor leagues, I think we want to re-sign him. So I think Jan Rutta will stay. With Zach Bogosian, I just don't know. It's like I like what I've seen out of him, but he's a depth piece that's like one of those depth pieces that you don't really talk about that much. He's just there to be a depth piece. But God bless him. I hope he goes to another team, but I don't think he'll stay with the Lightning after this season ends. Carter Verhaeghe obviously is another piece that's been part of the team since the minor leagues, drafting him too. I like Carter Verhaeghe. I see him as a future part of this team going forward, so I think they will re-sign him. Mike Condon, I don't see him going in the NHL, but I see him obviously staying with our team because just like with Louis Domingue and Peter Budaj, we're signing these goaltenders to give them another chance and kind of giving them a chance that they deserve. And you saw what Louis Domingue did in his stint with Tampa. And, the time he spent with New Jersey was okay, not amazing, but still okay. And now he's with Vancouver as a depth piece on the goaltending. So I think Mike Condon will stay as probably their starting goaltender maybe in the Syracuse Crunch. Is there any other players you mentioned? Because I know I'm missing a couple of players that you listed.
Yeah. Pat Maroon, Mitch Stevens, and Sorelli.
Oh, Sorelli, I want to stay. I mean, obviously, it's not up to me, but if I had to say anything, I think he should stay, and I hope that they want to keep him staying. Like, just like how Braden Point had his breakout year, and they signed Braden Point, obviously not a long-term year because they're still going to figure that out. That's why he only earned one of those. I forget what the term that is when you sign him for only 2 or 3 years. I forget the name, like of the contract you call it, like the type of like the name that people say. It's
like a franchise tender.
No, not like that. It's like, it's not coming to me when it's only 2 or 3 years. It's like I forget the name of like the type of contract. It's like it's not. This is not what the name is, but it's kind of like a show me contract. It's like 2 to 3 years. Like it's I forget what the name is, but kind of like
I forgot to.
Yeah,
you
like,
can roll with it.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. It's like, I'll eventually think of the name, and I'll probably send you a message on Instagram, whatever, when the light bulb comes off. But yeah, I think they're going to keep Anthony Sorelli. Mitchell Stevens, too. He's, obviously we had to call him up because of injury, so he played some time on the 3rd and 4th line. And he was great. Like, I liked what I saw from Mitchell Stevens. But I think he'll go back to the minor league team to get more time, just like Matthew Joseph has. Like, I like Matthew Joseph, and it's like, there's just so many awesome pieces offensively. It's like you can only have 12 people on your roster every night. And obviously you have a couple of people scratched on the team, so you have like 14 forwards. But I think Mitchell Stevens will stay with the team and probably play, get more development in the minor league team, Syracuse Crunch. And Patrick Maroon was the last one you said. I love what he's brought to this team, the grit. I know people obviously say, "Oh, that's Stanley Cup experience." Like, yes, that's obviously true. But the grit and he just doesn't give a crap. He's not afraid of anyone. He'll get physical, scrums and stuff after the whistles, and fights as well. I would love to see him stay with the team, but at the same time, I could see it happening to where he goes to another team to bring another team experience. So I see it both ways. Like Maroon could sign another 1-year deal or something. Or he could, sign with another team to be, to bring that experience and that grit, like what he's done this year with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing. And just to sorry for the disrespect, they can't sign everyone. Let some players go. But yeah, I think keep your RFA guys like Steven, Sorelli, and Verhage. Sergachev and Chernak are the most important players to sign. So
that's why I don't think it. Yeah, like you said, that's why I was thinking Stevens and Verhage are going to stay because they're RFAs, and so are Chernak and Sergachev. But the players like Zach Bogosian, Maroon, and Shattenkirk, I could see them, moving forward and going to another team. I want them to sign, and I could see it happening, but because believe me, the cap isn't endless, and you're going to have to get rid of some players. They don't stay on your team forever, except for franchise players. So, I see all those players potentially and most likely leaving after this season. Bogosian, Rutta might stay. I think he stayed, but the other two right shot defensemen, Bogosian, Shattenkirk, they'll probably leave, and so will probably Maroon. But yeah, they're pieces that are from the minor league team that are RFAs like Stevens or Verhage. They'll definitely most likely stay.
Yeah. All right. I think we can do 3 more, but we'll get the most important out of the way. So Zdeno Chara did not participate in practice because he did not get his COVID testing results. So I think I'll start with you, Grant. So if Zdeno Chara is out for the whole playoffs, how much effect will the defense be?
It's going to be rough. I would say Chara, he's not going to miss the whole playoffs, I would assume, unless it was really bad. But I would assume he would at least miss the round robin games, which is still pretty concerning considering they can never really beat the Lightning, as I'm sure Austin knows. They always struggle against Tampa, and Boston that doesn't usually play the best against Philadelphia or Washington either. So is certainly concerning as a Bostonian myself. I really am pushing for the Bruins this year. But, I mean, without Chara, I mean, you just don't have that leadership. You know, you just don't have your captain. And I know we still don't know what's going on with Torrey Krug. And so I guess this would be a good time for guys like Matt Grzelcyk and like John Moore to step up. But, you know, are they really going to deliver? The Bruins are going to be pretty weak, really, outside of Krug and McAvoy on the defense, I would think, overall, at least when it comes to a playoff team. You know, I know that first line with, of course, Marchand, Bergeron, and Pastrnak, because he luckily was able to go to Toronto. So we know he's playing, but it's a huge question mark with Chara. So I know that forward core can put up, 3 to 4 goals a night. It's just the thing is, can the defense really stay stable enough in front of Rask? That I'm not sure without Chara.
Yeah, there's not that much I have to add. Just said for, like you said, like, because he's their captain. I mean, take it from me. We lost our captain for a whole year, the year that we missed the playoffs in 2017, and we were still actually potentially fighting for a playoff spot at the very end. It's just not easy without your leader. And I mean, obviously it's different because Stamkos is a forward, but without Zdeno Chara, because this is probably, if not, maybe he'll try to sign one more year if they don't win the cup. But if they do win the cup this year, then he'll definitely retire. But it's like, this is potentially his last year. And the biggest question mark, like you said, is like, maybe, like, I don't think goaltending is a question mark, because Rask has proven himself time after time, and their offense is fine. It's just the defense is going to be a question mark. And it's like, if Chara doesn't show up because of what's going on with his test results, and he's unable to participate in the round robins, which really would affect their chances for a top 2 seeding in their first round matchup. It's like, it's going to be difficult for their defense to step up in front of Rask if he's not able to play. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be rough for without Chara. Like you said, Austin, about what happened to Steven Stamkos. Missed the whole season with injury. Will it be like the same formula as it? No, because it's Chara is health and Stamkos is bone situation.
Yeah.
He has potentially missed the round robin, and probably missed the first 3 games of the first round, or first 2 games. This is going to be a big experiment for without Chara. So anyway, we'll see what's going to happen for Chara. And 2 more. So we did with the Chara, and we did talk about the Pastrnak came back to Boston. So I think that was a good move that Pastrnak wants to join.
Yeah, I heard he was playing against his friends in Czech, and he was he apologized profusely to Bruce Cassidy. He's like, man, I don't know what I was doing, just trying to play some hockey with my friends across the pond. But don't worry, I'm back now. I don't have COVID or anything. I can play. But I just find it so funny when I saw it on the Boston News this morning. I'm just like, Hasta, this is the playoffs, man. Like, what are you doing on the deck playing with your friends?
Yeah, I was wondering the whole time, when they said he came to practice and he was when he showed up at practice and they didn't allow him to play because he was unfit. And I was wondering, well, what is going on? Because obviously it's not COVID related, but at the same time, what is the reason? Because it's he unfit. How is Pastrnak unfit? He's around my age, and he's very athletic. So I was just wondering the same thing. So it's I'm glad. Well, especially because Boston players well, Grant. I'm glad you cleared that, because I was wondering the whole time too. What was the problem with Pastrnak showing up to practice and everything? I didn't understand what was going on.
Yep, just chilling in the Czech. That's pretty much all that happened there.
Yeah.
False alarm.
Yeah. So I think we can do 2 more. Matt Murray or Tristan Jarry to start the playoffs. Ooh. I think there's going to be a big debate in the chat once we upload this. So Grant, who are you going for, Matt Murray or Tristan Jarry?
That is tough because despite, Jerry having the better stats, I'm pretty much basing this off of last night's performance in the Penguins-Flyers game. Jerry had the better stats, but Murray, it seemed like he faced more shots. It's interesting. It's really a flip of a coin. You can't go wrong. Basically, what I was writing in my Tecmo article today was basically, who do you go with? Do you go with the guy who's already won your 2 Stanley Cups and is pretty much built for playoff hockey? Or do you go with Tristan Jarry, who, yes, made the All-Star game, but he's still pretty young, haven't really, been in a playoff spot yet. And especially since you're playing a best-of-5 series. I know it's against the Canadians, but still, you're in a best-of-5. You really can't mess around, or else you don't even make the actual NHL playoffs. You can't really mess up here. I think most people would probably say at the moment they say Tristan Jarry, and I actually heard rumors earlier today that the Penguins were leaning towards starting Jarry, but I think for right now, you could go, start Murray game 1, Jarry game 2. You could easily do something like that as well, but I think for game 1 at least, you should start Matt Murray.
It's funny how you say that, Grant, because I was thinking the same thing. Because you have 2 goalies to where if whoever starts game 1 struggles and does not perform well, then you just do the other goalie for game 2. But if we're asking about who starts game 1, I go with the person who has the more playoff experience, just because the stats weren't, up to, even though his stats weren't the best this season, and the backup goalie, as Jarry had better stats compared to Murray this year. It would be better to go with, yes, you don't want to screw up or mess around in this play-in round series, but I think you go with the person that has more playoff experience and go with Matt Murray in game 1. And if he struggles, then you go with Jarry in game 2, because I'm sure he can definitely step up and perform well to help the Penguins win their series if by some chance they lose game 1 with Matt Murray in net.
Yeah. So we can have time to do one more. And before we do our last topic, I ask you guys to please hit the like button. That man greatly appreciates to me and Grant, and that's where we're gonna make our podcast videos in the near future. Our final topic is, let's recap the exhibition games yesterday and today.
Yep, we are doing them up until now. Currently, the Blackhawks have a 2-0 lead over the Blues currently. That's pretty surprising. More on that in a moment. Of course, like we mentioned yesterday, it was the Flyers and the Penguins. It came into overtime, but it was Scott Lofton delivering shoulder side of Tristan Jarry to give the Flyers a 3-2 win in overtime. That was just an all-out crazy game. In our first game back, that was a lot of fun to watch. And then we had, after that one, we had the Maple Leafs and the Canadians. Toronto kind of expected we're going to win that game, and they did 4-2. Alex Kerfoot, the former Avalanche, came up clutch with 2 goals, making the score 2-0 and 3-1 respectively. And then our last game from last night was the Oilers and the Flames. Edmonton 4-1. McDavid scored 2 goals. But we got to talk about that Kobe Cave introduction at the beginning during the ceremony. That was just absolutely perfect, and I'm just so happy that they did that.
Very respectful and very endearing. It was definitely a well thought out tribute.
Hashtag we skate for Kobe, and yeah, that was just, of course, unfortunate what happened, but I'm just so glad that, Edmonton, that in the NHL in general, they did the right thing and did the ceremony.
Yeah. And I think for the tribute, they knocked right out of the park.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Boston's gonna do the same thing since I
hope so.
Since he was with the Providence Bruins the whole time. Played for Boston, played at the 2019 Winter Classic at Notre Dame. I think that I think Boston's gonna take it to the next level, like what Edmonton did. I think they're gonna do one of the best tribute memories in NHL history. I think
it's certainly a possibility, especially with the Providence Bruins announcing Kobe Cave's on their all-time Providence Bruins team. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and
I imagine I can't wait to see that tribute as well. That should certainly be good.
Yeah, it'll be a treat to watch.
Yeah, and I think for Boston, I think I forgot. Crap. I don't know. I think that they might do like a display of his first goal puck, and
yeah, certainly.
Yeah,
and I think maybe it'll be interesting if they retire number 26. I'm not sure if that will ever happen, but like if they do it, I think that it's gonna be like a knockout of the park, better than Edmonton.
I don't think they're gonna retire Colby Cave's number. That would certainly be interesting if they did, but I just simply don't think he was that player that would make his number retired, like for the Bruins or the Oilers. That's just
maybe for the Providence Bruins, because you said he made the all-time Providence Bruins.
Yeah, maybe for the Providence Bruins. Yeah, I could see
maybe
that.
For like Bakersfield, because I think maybe for Bakersfield because once he stepped into Edmonton, he was a fan favorite for Bakersfield like immediately. So I think like, will they do like Providence and Bakersfield? Possibly. Like, I think Providence is a obvious decision for Cave's number 26 to be hanged at the Dunkin' Donuts Center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to a bunch of Providence Bruins games live. Just such a great atmosphere. But anyway, moving on to more happy news. Well, unless you're Panthers fans, we head to the game today, and boy, else, I'm sure you enjoyed this one. 5-0. Lightning beat the Panthers, and Kucherov scored 2 goals. I'm pretty sure someone else scored 2 goals as well. Brandon Point scored 2 goals. We had our first fight. I mean, that was interesting. Miguel Sergachev went after Brian Boyle, so I guess that was interesting. Yeah, 5-0, the Lightning win in a rout. Sergei Bobrovsky, I guess he's still underperforming. It's crazy. I thought he definitely would have gotten better and used this time to rest up a little bit, but maybe he's resting up a little too much. He got lit up.
That was
a rough performance by the Panthers.
Yeah, I may be a Lightning fan, but I didn't see that coming. I'll be honest, seriously. Like, I didn't think that was going to be the final score, 5-0. Like, that was unreal.
Yeah, for me,
yep.
I'm gonna say the same thing what Austin said. I did not expect a shutout. I thought it was gonna be like a 4-2 final.
Yeah, I thought it would have been much closer than 5-0.
Oh yeah, I thought it would have been a lot closer too. Yeah,
Florida has.
Yeah, and Washington, Carolina, 3-2. Once I heard that it was 3-2, I was saying, Dave, if Carolina scores, I'm gonna scream at the TV. These fans getting mad when they lost to a 42-year-old Zamboni driver who works for them.
Oh boy, we're bringing up David Ayers again.
Fan favorite.
Yeah,
I know he's
Powerskateshow favorite. #1 fan. Tag him on the show.
I know he's an instant classic already. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Ovechkin scored twice, and Washington, I guess, got their mini revenge against Carolina.
Thank you.
From the playoffs last year. The real question is, Carolina and Washington going to play in this year's playoffs? And boy, how is Washington going to play against the Hurricanes in next year's outdoor game? Those are the 2 big questions for those 2 teams.
Yeah, and like you – sorry.
If they let fans, as normal, I'm going to that game. If Carolina and Washington, both of them, pack my bags, boys. I'm heading to Raleigh. But if they do not, then it'll be fine. Like, do it for the 2022 Stadium Series. I won't even mind. But as long as if
that's all right. Just come to the Powerskateshow if you can't go.
Yeah. So yeah, and we'll make it quick for one more. Ilya Samsonov out for the playoffs.
Well, actually, hold on. The Gabriel Landeskog scored a game-winning goal in the second, which gave the Avalanche a 3-2 victory over the Wild. The Rangers and Islanders starting right now. Canucks and Jets starting at 10:30, and the Blackhawks still up against the Blues 2-0 at the second intermission. Those are your exhibition games up to this point.
Yeah, after this podcast ends, I'm definitely watching the rest of the hockey tonight because we still got a lot of hockey to watch tonight. So I'll be my eyes will be staying awake. I'm not sleeping at all. I'm wide awake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just Canucks Jets games getting at 1 in the morning probably. So
yeah. I know. It's like it's hard to fit all the topics that you gave me on the piece of paper that you sent me on Instagram, but the two topics that we still haven't talked about, I'm thinking about because you guys were wanting to talk about them maybe quickly. Yeah, with the two injuries to those two teams that you were talking about, Alex, Carolina and Washington, Ilya Samsonov and Dougie Hamilton. Those are definitely going to be interesting because obviously Holtby, is your number one goaltender and he could still win you a Stanley Cup this year. But at the same time, it's good to have a second goaltender. And it's Vachenek, I'm not saying his name right, Vachenek played really well in the time that when Holtby was, replaced by him midway through the game. I was impressed with some of the big saves he had, but it is sad that Samsonov has a long-term injury that's keeping him out for the rest of the playoffs. And Dougie Hamilton's a big question mark. Is he even going to play this playoffs this year? If not, that's really going to put a damper on the Hurricanes' playoff hopes.
And we know that Brent Seabrook will also sit out the rest of the playoffs with a nagging injury. He's not playing, so he can play again next year. So that is also interesting. Also a blow to the Chicago defense as well.
Yeah. It's really going to be interesting how –
shocked me a lot, though. I was like, wow. Because, I thought the Cowboys were going to have, what the Penguins are doing with Murray and Jerry. I thought they were going to have Holtby play game one. If he struggled, they were going to put in Samsonov. But, of course, that's not going to happen now. And I was just like, I don't know how it's going to affect Washington, especially if Holtby continues to struggle like he did during the regular season. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah, I was going for Samsonov to start. Since they lost Samsonov, I think they might lose the second round in the playoffs. But anyway, we'll see what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But Chicago has some defense that they can play, and Carolina, I think this is gonna be a question mark so far. I think this is going to affect them in the play-in rounds, but anyway, we'll see what's going to happen.
All right, just two quick topics. Don't want to, we don't have to go in depth with them if you guys don't want to. But the Ducks re-signed Sonny Milano to a 2 or 3 year deal, and the Bruins re-signed Andreas Bajork to a 3-year deal. And, I think those are two very good signings for both teams. Very good depth pieces, very good young players who have bright futures. And our last topic that I guess we can give opinions on if you want, but the Sharks are considering about bringing in Antoine Khudobin to compete with Martin Jones for the starting role. Certainly stuff to keep an eye out for as we get closer to the off season.
Yeah, for San Jose, if they bring up Khudobin, get rid of Aaron Dell.
Aaron Dell's probably gone. I think he is in general.
Yeah, for Aaron Dell, I kind of see him be in Philadelphia if Brian Elliott retires, or probably see him go to Nashville if Rene is out with Saros and Dell, and I kind of see him go to Tampa Bay if they touch Curtis McElhinney. So yeah. So Austin, what do you think if Khudobin goes to San Jose?
Well, yeah, we'll talk about your two topics. The Dutch signing Sonny Milano, that's a great depth signing because he didn't get his chance really with, I don't know exact reasons why, but he didn't get his chances really with whether it's because of him and his actions or it's just the organization decided not to keep him. Columbus, he tried to, is to get his chances on the roster, but it didn't work out. But, he's getting a second chance with Anaheim. And so, Anders Bjork is a great depth piece for the Bruins. So that's pretty good too. Sorry, I got to drink a little water because I've been talking so much.
Yeah.
No problem.
But yeah, with the last topic that we're talking about, yeah, that would be interesting because Anton Khudobin was the reason that was like I forget if it was the game in Tampa or the game in Dallas. He made 45 saves. The Stars only had like I think we doubled the amount of shots that they had, and Khudobin was just lights out and played amazing. Like he didn't shut out the team, but like he even though I think he only allowed like 1 or 2 goals, and it's like he made like over 40 saves, and he was the reason the Stars won that game. I think it was in Tampa that game, and we lost in overtime that game, and we way outshot them. So he still has a few years left in him. So like he's not like, yes, he's a veteran, he's getting older, but still he's still shown that he's a great backup goaltender. So if the Sharks are interested in him because they're done with both Dell or Jones, or they're done with one of them, I could see the Sharks signing him because definitely the Sharks need a better goaltending situation, and definitely if the Stars can't keep Khudobin, or if they want to maybe trade him for some kind of value asset, whether it's a defenseman or an offensive person, I could see him going to the Sharks if the Sharks really are interested in Khudobin. I could see it happening. The only thing I guess I could see a concern, or maybe not seeing it happen, is because it's not the same division, but it is the same conference. So maybe I could see maybe that not happening because the Stars wouldn't want to do that by trading one of their goalies to the same conference. That reason why, but at the same time, I could see it happening just for just alone because of the Sharks itself wanting them. I mean, the Sharks themselves wanting a better goalie. I could see that why it could happen.
I mean, like, if he was going to go to an Eastern Conference team, Khudobin, I mean, really, like, I'm trying to think, like, he would definitely fit well in, like, Detroit, Ottawa, or maybe even the Islanders, but I'm really trying to think, like, where else would he really, like, fit that he wouldn't be a backup besides, like, a terrible team and, like, maybe the Islanders, depending on what they do with Thomas Greiss and Semyon Varlamov. So, certainly interesting, to say the least. That is for sure.
Yeah. I think Austin's froze.
No, unfortunately, Austin froze, but we're going to go. Oh, there we go. He's back. But we're going to go end the show anyway. So, Alex, if you'd like to.
I'm right here. I'm ready.
All right, good. Yep. So, we're really done the show. If you want to wrap it up, and go right ahead, Alex.
Yes. All right, that's going to wrap up for episode 15 of the Powerskateshow podcast. We would like to thank Austin for coming in. So, Austin, would you like to advertise anything that you do or what?
Yeah, sure. And sorry that I froze at the last moment because the show's about to end. But thank God it was only for a moment. But yeah, thank you first of all for having me on. I mean, you guys doing this podcast, it's not easy, especially because you guys are younger than me. I mean, I'm not a lot older, but I'm not to bring it downer, but it kind of, like when we were talking about Colby Cave, it kind of brought my attention and kind of hurt my heart because, like, even though I never knew Colby Cave, he was my age when he passed away, and that's sad when you hear someone your age and a hockey player passing away. But like for you guys are younger than me, and doing a podcast isn't easy, so it's pretty cool that you guys are doing a podcast. So bless you guys for that, and thank you guys for actually even wanting to have me on your show as a guest. So I appreciate having doing this, you guys having me on and asking for my input on some of the big topics these days in the NHL. I mean, I'm on social media mostly if you're asking about hockey related stuff. I'm mostly on Twitter or Instagram with hockey posts these days. So like Austin Cybulski, you see it on the screen below the Powerskateshow logo. Episode logo is just my name, Austin, AUSTIN CYBULSKI. That's just my Twitter handle, and the same thing for Instagram, except for I have the number 20 because I had to use a number for my Instagram handle, so it's just Austin_Cybulski 20. So if you want to follow me on that, and then I do videos with my buddy John, like not mostly social media, not really videos, but he does Hot Take Hockey on YouTube. It's a really up and coming hockey YouTube channel that is doing really well. It does live stream, play-by-play reaction videos, analysis and like videos every day. And it's a great community. So if you guys are interested in being, any of you guys listening, if you guys are interested in being part of a great hockey community, besides the Powerskate Show for that matter, it's definitely check that out too. So thank you guys all thank you both, Alex and Grant, for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yes. And with that, follow on our social medias, Powerskateshow.
No problem. Yeah, great time.
Yeah. Check out our social medias, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Powerskateshow. We're actually going trending on TikTok, which is
More than TikTok.
TikTok is everything these days.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway, check out Grand Flood, Floods the Sports Zone for daily sports news on Instagram. Got 1,000 followers 2 weeks ago. And thank you, Austin, for coming. And Grant, would you like to finish out the outro?
Sure. Well, it was another pleasure, another great episode of the Powerskate Show. And hope to see you guys next week again. As always, 7 o'clock we'll be starting. And it's gonna do it for me. I'm Grant Flood from Flusher Sports, along with Alex and Austin, saying, have a good night, everybody.